Hey, so I see some of you've already jumped on. Um, it's it's not it's not easy when you have to when you actively feel like you have to choose between um yeah, it's not easy when you feel like you have to actively choose between your health and the health of your family or the right for people that look like you and people like you to live. That is that is a detrimentally sad thought that I had to have when I was weighing the options of if I thought I could attend the protest today that's happening here in Montreal. Um, I think
Yeah, it's not easy when you
Oh,
feel like you
sorry,
have to
folks.
actively choose between your health and the health of your family.
So you know, I there's going to be a lot of pauses because the more I've thought about this and the more I've been trying to process what's going on, the more I question some of the things that happen in the world around me. And of course, we should always be questioning, but it is just a kind of crazy thing to think about everything that's going on and to think that at some point um, people were going into government buildings with guns, bandanas, protesting for the right to just go outside because they felt that the states and the counties and the cities asking them to stay home to protect the people around them was unfair and unjust. Um, and then as a person of color, and I know some people have been really upset about hearing person of color. I'm black, and I understand I'm black. The reason I use person of color is because, and I'm not trying. This is not an all lives matter statement. I know some people get really upset, but I am acknowledging the fact that black people, yes, we are targeted. Um, and I'm not trying to make it an us versus them, but I think it's pretty fair to say it feels you know what it is. I'll give credit where credit's due. I saw my friend post this earlier today. Toby, shout out to Toby. It's not, it is us versus them, but the us is non-racist people. It's non-racist people versus racist people. That's what it is. It is us versus them. We are not racist and they are racist. If you're not a racist person, anything we say about racist people should not offend you. You're not racist. If you feel like you have taken advantage of of the privilege in the system, and you may have done so unknowingly, I don't believe that that makes you racist. I believe that we are all raised in a system that keeps us blind to the things that are around us. I believe the system is made so that people who are taking advantage of the privilege are made to feel like it's not that much of an advantage, and that complaining others who complain about the advantage seem like they're complaining when it's not a complaint. They're pointing out the facts of the system. But that's the thing. There's a play on it, and that play is to make it seem like you're complaining. It makes it seem like you're just ungrateful that you and bitter that you don't have these same advantages. And that's how the system keeps playing. And then if you as a person feel like you have inadvertently taken advantage of this system through inaction or through unknowing ignorance, then that's one of the things where I say to people, you didn't know. And yes, I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of people who are angry, right now who are very quick to say, well, they're not trying to educate themselves. And you're not wrong. They're not trying to educate themselves because we don't like to recognize that we live in a broken system. Why would you want to acknowledge you live in a broken system? But I digress. I say all of this to start off because I know it has been in a very emotional state. A lot of people have just started pointing out that everyone else is just being unfair or unjust, and they're not trying to do the things needed to help us. And I think that that comes from a place of fear. And it's not easy for someone who is scared to make the decision to stand up for something. It takes time, and it genuinely affects you emotionally and mentally when you start to realize that you have to change the way you look at the world. And that's hard. That's one of the reasons that I think a lot of people are afraid to say or do anything, because it can affect them. It can affect their livelihood. And I say all of this because I know the reason I'm prefacing everything I'm saying is because one of the things that it's tough. I'm having a hard time. One of the things that I know, the way I like to approach things is I do my best to not get overly emotional about anything at any given point, because I like to discuss things with people so that they have an understanding of what I'm saying first, because I think that's very important. I like to use the analogy when I talk to people that anytime you're discussing something with someone, think of the discussion as a glass of water that is filled literally to the brim. And for every time you raise your voice or attack them directly, the glass shakes and a bit of the water overflows. And if your glass ever gets empty, the conversation is dead, because think of the water as the basis and the middle ground for where you are. And the more you argue with this person, and the more it overflows, and you start to lose everything, it's overflowing. It's losing. Everything's just being lost. If you can explain to somebody as calmly as possible the things that you are going through in a fair way, and even if they attack you, I understand, because there are going to be people who will actively work against the things you are saying because they want to see the glass spill over. They don't want you to be able to defend your point and present facts that they can't refute, because that would upset them, because then they realize that they have to face these facts. Shout outs to my cousin. My cousin just messaged me from England. Shout outs to Michelle Franklin. Thousands and thousands of people are out marching here in MTL. Glad to see everyone with masks. Yeah. That's one of the things. So I wanted to be at the march. I want to be at the march. Not wanted. I want to be at the march, because the march is happening right now. Too many people have been brutally killed by a system that does not want the informed and the educated people of color, black people, Latinx people, Native American people, any group that is not of a specific look. I'm trying to be as diplomatic as possible. They don't want the educated masses of those groups to work together to identify the broken system, because they don't want to fix the system. They do not. It has been 408, 90, 500 years ish of trying to minimize the voice of others in and I say North America because I know a lot of people have seen the things happening in the States, and some of the people in Canada have been like, "Oh, I'm so happy to be in Canada." If you're a black person in Canada, you know that in a percentage, we are 1/10 their population, right? Canada is 1/10 the population of the United States. The entire population of Canada is, I think, equal to or less than the population of California, one of the states on the west coast of the United States. So if you think about the fact that just off that alone, those numbers, it is always going to look like there's less violence or racism towards people of color, towards black people in Canada, just off the numbers, off the bat. But I can tell you, as a black person who has grown up here, it is not better. It is not better. I leave my house every day and feel anxiety literally every time I see a police officer. And then when there are people who say, "Oh, if you don't do anything, you don't have to worry about the police." I would disagree. When I was young, when I was I must have been 13, 12 or 13. When I was 12 or 13 years old, I was walking near the park near my house. And I don't know how many of you know the game Bocce. It's like an Italian game that they play. It's like a kind of like a version of marbles, or think of curling, where you have to throw the ball and get it to the ball at the other end. You have to get it the closest. So there was a bocce pit at the park near my house, and so there's a roller that they use to smooth out the gravel or sand or whatever it is, so that it doesn't, so that the balls roll smoothly. And my friend Derek and I are walking down the street, and we noticed that someone had taken the roller and had thrown it off of the pit and had just thrown it on the grass. So him and I see this, and we were like, "Oh, that's weird." So we go over and we pick it up and we bring it and we put it back into the pit. And as soon as we put it down, these sirens go off, and we look, and we're Derek lives across the street from the park, so we can see his front door from where we are, and I live diagonally from him. So we're like, I couldn't have been more than 15 seconds from my front door. I have gone to this park almost every day in the summer. I've walked past that park. I've walked to that street corner. I've lived in that neighborhood for years. And so, it's my community. I've lived there most of my life. I've lived in the Côte-des-Neiges NDG area of Montreal most of my life, and then I lived in that specific area for a good couple years. And I'm seeing something that is just thrown, and I'm thinking to myself, "Oh, I'll be a good citizen and just fix it. I'll just be helpful." Because there's nothing wrong with being helpful. I'm not doing anything wrong. And that's the thing. I wasn't doing anything wrong. My friend Derek and I picked it up, put it back where it belonged. And the cops harassed us. Pulled over, started questioning us, started yelling at us, started asking us why we're touching stuff. Do we live in the neighborhood? A full rundown question of two young black men who just wanted to be helpful and were just walking home. We weren't doing anything wrong. And then people will tell me, "Well, you don't have to worry if you didn't do anything wrong." Well, I mean, you're right. But look at it this way. If you're not doing anything wrong and someone with a gun starts talking to you and questioning you and making you feel uncomfortable just for existing, Doesn't that seem wrong? I mean, it seems wrong to me. I gotta tell you, I don't see why someone who's paid to serve and protect my community, seeing me do something inconspicuous. I don't know. Let's and guys, I am known for being the most annoying devil's advocate you will ever meet in your life. So I will play the other end of that scenario. I'm driving in a police car. I see two men. Let's pretend I'm ignoring their race. I see two young men walking in a park. I see the roller. I see them pick it up, and I see them put it back where it should go. Why is my first thought to interrogate them as to why they're doing it? Let's rewind. Let's cut off what they saw. Let's say they only saw us put the roller back. They didn't see where it was before. They just saw us leaning it. From their perspective, we're two people in a park. This is public property. We're not doing anything with the public property except having our hands on it. In a park, public property, two black youths with their hands. Once again, let's pretend we're removing the race from it. Two young men with their hands on public property in a park in a community that they live in. Again, remove the fact that I live in the community. They don't know where I'm from. I'm still a young man in a community. There's no sign of aggression. There's no sign that would indicate we have done anything other than we have touched the roller that is here in this public space. Yet, we were interrogated as if we had done something wrong. And then when people ask me why I feel uncomfortable around police officers, when I try to explain, they're like, well, if you haven't done anything wrong, you don't have to worry. I didn't do anything wrong that day. And I got interrogated. I wasn't doing anything wrong the first time I got called the N-word by a white French Canadian man who was walking down the street. I wasn't doing anything wrong the time that I saw someone assault someone else in a mall, and my friend and I went outside and saw a police officer, luckily, and approached the police officer in their car and said, "Sir, there's someone attacking someone in the mall," to which we were told to leave them alone and go home. Now, I would understand if you were saying this for my safety. Again, I like to play devil's advocate. These police officers saw two young people. We said we saw something that was dangerous happening in a space. I would think they're supposed to take our statements, but let's say they're saying to us to go home because it's the safest thing to keep us as far away from what is the potential danger. Then why do you yell it and do it in an aggressive manner? Why is it not done in a manner that makes these people who are part of this community that you serve feel safe? And those are the things. I wasn't doing anything wrong when I was sitting in the back seat of my friend's car. 4 people of color, myself, my friend's Filipino, the 2 women in the front are South Asian. I'm the only black person in the car. The car is pulled over. The police drive up to my window. I'm in the driver back seat. They don't go to the driver. They go to my window, point to me, and ask me to roll my window down. However, my friend had turned off the car because they'd been pulled over. We were in a parking lot. So I couldn't roll down my window. So my friend rolls down her window, and the officer tells her, roll down his window. Because that makes sense. You pulled over a car with 4 people of color. You drive up as a police officer on the driver's side. The cars are facing opposite directions. Instead of driving and speaking with the driver, you drove to the back seat behind the driver, point at the one black man, ask him to roll down his window when the car is off to speak to me. So my friend does lower my window. And I'm then questioned by these police officers about where I've been, what I've been doing, and then I'm told I fit the profile of someone that they had been speaking with earlier. Oh, folks, I was expecting a call. Jazz, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You're live right now. I'm on multiple platforms right now as we speak. Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. So if just to let you know before we continue.
No problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, I had spoken with a friend of mine earlier, and they put me in contact with someone who is going to be attending the protest today. As I mentioned, was not going to be able to attend, but I wanted to speak to someone who is going to be there about, why they're there, how they're feeling, their experiences, and just the general vibe of what is happening right now, because I cannot be there. So Jazz, you said you were going to reach out to me once you got closer to the area. Are you currently right there?
Yes, I'm currently right there. There's a lot of people. There's actually more white people than black people from what I can see. I was expecting my people to be there, but I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an easy situation. I think that I mean, I can't speak for everyone. I know the reason I couldn't come was for medical. I can't speak for why other people can't go. I do have a friend, a black friend of mine who posted earlier today explaining that he wants to go, but he doesn't feel that going right now when the community that is the most at risk, the black community and other communities, minority communities that the most at risk, would benefit from doing this right now when if everyone gets sick from it, we're the ones that are going to see the least services or the least help.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, and I think and that's fair. So to anyone who didn't go for those reasons, I understand. But for anyone who didn't go because you just couldn't be bothered, I don't that I can't get behind.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. How are you?
But I encourage everybody to, raise awareness all over your platforms, social media, about the situation, because this is a really important matter, and we're dying. Like, we need to do something about that.
Yeah. We are dying. It's not, it's not said lightly. And that's one of the things I think it's really easy for people to see it as like something they see on the news, because they may not know someone directly who has died. But for them, that's easy, for anyone who's looking on the outside in. But for you and I, as we're black, so these people look like us.
Yes.
I'm seeing people who look like me being knelt on and killed. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess what's happening right now?
I don't know. Like, people are talking at the front, but I can't really hear what they're saying.
Okay.
So everybody's talking. So.
Okay. Well, I'm happy that people are out. I'm hoping how does the crowd look? One of the things that I was a little concerned about is Montreal has a history of people who want to have peaceful protests, but then there's some people who show up. Oh, whoa.
Sorry.
No. Don't apologize. Hey.
Actually, people are really peaceful over here, and I think everybody came to represent for the cause, and I think everybody wants this to go smoothly. So, I don't think we're gonna have like a bad reputation out of this event.
Okay, I'm happy. Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate that I even have to have that concern, but I mean.
Yeah.
I'm just I think one of the things that I want to come out of this the most is I want that the protest be peaceful and that the message be heard, because I was explaining at the beginning before you came on, I think that a lot of the times because the message gets blended in with aggression, a lot of people just
Yes.
stop listening.
Yeah.
Yeah. What has your experience been in the past at some of these protests? Because you mentioned earlier you've gone to multiple protests.
Yeah, I have. I mean, I've been racially profiled by the police multiple times.
Yeah.
My husband got actually pursued by this white man who had an axe just because my husband was doing his job. So, you know, um, this kind of racism, it's happening all the time. It has happened in my life so many times. So, like, I just wanted to stop, and I just want to be able to just live and be able to go about my things
Yeah.
and not have to worry about my life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the craziest part about this whole situation for both of us is that we just want to be free to be black and live our lives.
Exactly.
That like it is such a crazy thing to think that other people get to take it for granted.
Hmm.
Um what sorry, I keep trying not to get overwhelmed by the emotion
Trust me, I've been crying the whole week,
yeah.
so I totally understand what you mean. I mean, this is, I don't know.
It's
I don't
yeah.
even know what to say.
Yeah, I keep having I keep I keep having the conversation about whether or not I want to have kids because
Yeah, I get that.
the I the idea of bringing a child into this world and them
Exactly.
constantly facing stuff like this seems really hard.
Hmm.
Um yeah.
Just having to be born with that disadvantage is really messed up.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you have to talk to your kids at a young age to tell them about what's about to come for them and how the world is cruel, and you're trying to do everything that you can to protect them, but you can't, obviously. You can't even count on the police to protect your children
No.
because they're against you.
Yeah. And I think that's the part that really sucks. Right before you came on, I was telling a story about I was just telling a story about that. I was telling a story about being young and I was walking in a park and I was just trying to fix something I saw in the park with my friend, and that turned into the cops questioning me and my friend when they saw us. Like we just saw something knocked over and we were trying to fix it. Where it's a park that we used to hang out in every day of our lives. We grew up near there. And just the thought that trying to fix something led to being interrogated by two police officers for like 15 minutes. Um, yeah, it's that's hard.
Yeah.
You said you're I'm not married yet. Um, my partner's white. So already sometimes when I think about having a kid, I've explained to her, and I think she understand. She does understand. I shouldn't say I think she understands. I think I've explained to her where I stand on it, because I do love my partner, and I would, but it's also very heavy at times because it really does when stuff like this happens. If it's really hard for me because I kind of just sit in the sadness sometimes. And
Yeah.
I used to not do that, but it's gotten harder to not because I
Yeah.
think it's almost impossible to ignore now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Um, and you grew up, you've spent your entire life here in Montreal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Entire life in Montreal, born and raised, but my parents were from Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so also my mom, she told me when she came here, she was pregnant by my older sister, and she was looking for an apartment, so she kept on calling at different places.
Yeah.
And then there was this one lady who told her, yes, the apartment is available. You can come and visit. I'll be waiting for you today.
Mm.
So by the time that my mom got there, my mom rang the bell, and the lady, when she saw that it was my mom, a black woman,
Yeah.
she all of a sudden the apartment wasn't available anymore. She had rented it apparently
Yeah.
within the hour.
Yeah. Of course.
So like things like that.
Yeah. That exact
Like,
that exact thing happened to my mom. But you know what really sucks when it happened to my mom, the part that was hard was my mom got turned down when the woman saw me, not my mom. And that hurt me. At the time I don't think it hurt me as much. I think it hurt my mother more cuz I think my mother realized how unfair that was, that
yeah,
cuz my mom knew she raised me, and there was no reason for this person to assume the worst just because her son was black.
yeah,
So I think, because I do you ever feel like you have to shield your parents from it?
yeah,
Yeah. Like, I don't tell my mom all the times that I've dealt with racial
yeah,
profiling
neither.
and stuff. Yeah. Because and it sucks too, because sometimes I wonder, like, if I talk to my mom about it, maybe that would help emotionally. And also, I think my parents have gone through it too. So
Hmm.
yeah. I mean, yeah. How is it now at the protest?
I don't know. I think they're gonna start moving
Okay.
from what I'm seeing. So maybe I'm gonna go and check it out, and I can call you back later to tell you exactly what's happening.
Of course. Of course. Yeah.
Uh,
I'm gonna try and stay on for quite a bit. So, uh,
okay, cool.
yeah. Oh, I got people commenting. Oh, I've never even seen this chat, but there's people saying hi to me in other chats. Okay, so I'll talk to you soon. And
Okay, cool.
and
So
thank you
I'll
very
talk
much.
to you later.
Yeah, and thank you very much for calling. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was Jazz. I very much appreciate her taking the time to speak with me. Earlier today, I had spoken with her, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to attend. Shout outs to Cinzia, who put us in contact, and because Cinzia was also saying that she very much wanted to attend, and but may not have been able to due to medical reasons. And I think that it's not easy when you want to be there for your friends and the people in your community. Um, it's not. It's not easy. I know for a fact that it's not easy, and I understand everyone who is there wanting to feel like they can speak up and then feeling like they can't. And I want to remind everybody who is not able to. There's not a lot of people out there who, um, it just feels hard. It feels very difficult when there is a global pandemic, and you see how the pandemic is treating people, especially people in the Black community, the Latin community, Native communities here in Canada. I imagine Native communities in the States as well. And meanwhile, other communities in more affluent neighborhoods are seeing the help they need, and are seeing I can't speak to this in Canada, but unfortunately, I from what I understand in the States, some of the states that are more in support of a conservative beliefs are, again, one of the things that I do when I'm speaking is I try to be very specific with the words I use, because I try to be very diplomatic. Because like I said at the beginning of this, if I just start attacking people, people stop listening. And I don't want them to stop listening. I don't want anyone who feels like they're a conservative or the right wing to not hear what I'm saying. They can have their opinions about me as a Black person, but I want them to at least listen, hopefully, to listen at least to what I'm saying. I'm not trying to judge. I'm not trying to target. I'm trying to speak on the facts on a wider scale. It is not their fault if they live in that neighborhood and more things are coming to them. It is, however, their responsibility to be aware of that and to address it if they can, and they should. Because they don't run the state. They're not the ones who decide where the federal, funding or the federal bailouts or the federal surplus comes or goes. It's hard. It is. It's difficult because I don't think it's easy. It's like a tightrope, constantly trying to walk a tightrope as to make things clear for people and to have these conversations. It is. Hold on. There's a message here, Tiffany. Well, yes. First of all, shout outs to Tiffany, who has been doing amazing work. She's my friend Tiffany, if I'm not mistaken. I'm double checking which Tiffany, because I didn't see the last name. I also got a comment. It's weird finding there is not a lot of active on the Twitch platform on this issue. Twitchers active on the Twitch platform on this issue. Well, thank you. That's Yogi. Man, I can't read these, and I apologize. Some of them are appearing very small to me, and it's very hard to read. But I appreciate that. Is from Yogi Dark. And thank you. Yes. I mean, I do find it a little bit weird that there aren't more people speaking up about some of this stuff on platforms. That's the whole point of a platform like this. I mean, I would like to think that everyone, if you have social media, and use your platform to speak on a regular basis on all the things that you find important, and this doesn't seem like something you should be talking about, I don't understand. But again, I say that, and I try and say it without judgment. I say it more based in the facts of speaking right now, saying a lot but not saying anything right now is actually dangerous. It's actively dangerous. That's the thing I think I want people to understand. It's dangerous. It might not be dangerous to you, but it's dangerous because people are being killed. People are being killed. People are dying. I don't know how to deliver that in a more clear way. And then that's the thing, again, like the glass of water on the table that's filled to the brim. Once you start saying certain things, people feel uncomfortable, so they cut you out, and they don't want to listen to it. They get concerned, and they get nervous, and they start to sit back, and they start to go, this is too much. So then I try and speak on a level that is calm and explain my opinion and points in a way that I feel will keep the conversation flowing, because it is more important to me that the conversation flows than I just yell my point across the table. I don't want my point to fall on deaf ears. It is useless for me to yell if no one is going to pay attention to what is being said. I'm not from the U.S., but seeing this is insane. I mean, insane. There is a peaceful and meaningful protest. Then there is rioting and cop cars burning. Then cops pushing over people. Then people looting. Then watching journalists from all stations, from stations being beaten, robbed, and attacked, reporting on the situation from both sides. Yeah. It's not easy. I'd like to also point out, though, that a lot of the time, the violence that comes from these situations arises from people who are trying to make the protests look violent and aggressive. And that's an important part for people to recognize. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with the messages here because they're actually coming quite fast. And I appreciate all of you messaging in this. So Tiffany wrote, although I've chosen not to attend for health reasons, it's a privilege to be here with you. You are enabling us to still be present for the essential turning point. We all need to ensure that no officer or person in a position of power can continue this narrative of open racism and prejudice. Yeah. Yes, that is very important. I think that these conversations are important, and that the so one of the things that I was looking at today was someone explaining the idea behind policing. And it was sad to me because it made me realize that that is how policing works. When I was a child and I was in school, the police were brought in to, and I will say this again, I don't think the police themselves know when they want to be civil servants that this is how the system is structured. I don't think the police know. I think this is something that is on high, and the people who go in with pure intentions sometimes get taken advantage of by a system. But policing is a system that is put in place to protect those at a certain standing in society and not necessarily protect everyone. That's not how it's sold to us. But you wouldn't tell the sheep that the shepherd dog is there. You know what I mean? If you guys get the analogy, we aren't being told that the police are there to protect them. We're being told the police are there to protect all of us. But then you look at the legal system and you look at the flaws and you look at, someone, wealthy who has assaulted and murdered and done all these things. Actually, I won't say murdered. Let's say something as simple as just tickets. And they have the money to pay the tickets, but then they might have friends who can just get rid of the tickets. You know what I mean? You understand what I mean in that system, that they don't even have to pay the ticket because they have friends who can help get rid of the ticket, even though you have the money to pay the ticket, whereas I may not have the money to pay the ticket, nor do I have access to someone to get rid of the ticket. That's the system. That on a simple low scale, the system is set up so that people with more never have to spend the more to help. And you realize that's messed up, right? You realize that being put in these situations is, for us, unfair, and for them, the perfect deal. I was telling my friend, actually, let me continue reading. From Michelle. I grew up in New York. De Blasio has come out against the protesters and against the poor communities. The northern states are not much better. My cousin in the UK. Oh, he wrote a longer thing. Hold on. I'm just going to click that and try and read all of it. Because I was in New York City with the family, Jamaica, Queens, walking into the subway to take the train, and my daughter on my shoulders, and there were police standing by the walkway, and they gave me such a look that made me feel like I had done something wrong, and they kept on staring at me in a weird way. Luckily, I was with my family and ignored them, and because I knew if I kept looking at them, it would give them an excuse to stop me and harass me. I've had Montreal police pull their gun on me 2 occasions, and on the second time, I had an altercation with the police, and the only thought I had was, I'm the only child of my mother, so I can't get my... So I can't get myself shot and killed, so I backed down from the confrontation, especially since I saw the fear in his eyes. This was when the MTL police executed a black unarmed passenger because they suspected him of shooting at the police on numerous occasions, but they could not prove it. Yeah. Yeah. These are things that are happening. Yeah. Yeah. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Michelle just wrote that. That is a very common phrase and very common understanding of the world we live in. And it's I think we are finally at a point where people have started to realize that that's a problem. I think there was a lot of time where we there is a lot of time where we just don't know how to handle this situation. I myself, Eric Gardner, Philando Castile, there's a list, Sandra Bland, there's a list of people who died. And I remember when this happened, there was so many in succession that I just felt numb, and I wanted to just hide, and I wanted to just stop talking about it because I was so sad and I didn't want to be sad anymore. Even before I started this, even before I came on to speak about all of this, I felt so heavy. Like I was watching comedy in the other room because I was trying to just laugh. I just wanted to laugh. I didn't want to think about it. I wanted to laugh, and it was still weighing on my mind. But I genuinely wanted to try and find an escape for at least a little bit before I went back to it. And as I was laughing and thinking about it, and I saw the time, and I kept thinking 5 o'clock, everyone's going to be, there's going to be at the protest. People are going to be at the protest. I wish I could be at the protest. And I just kept thinking about it. But I knew I could not go to the protest, and I wanted to go. And it hurts to not be able to go because I just kept thinking, if I ever have a child, I want to be able to look my child in the eyes and tell them that I did everything that I could do to make sure the world would be better for them when they came into it. But I didn't think getting myself sick and potentially, because of my personal health and the health of my partner and those around me, I didn't think that getting myself possibly sick was the best way to do that, because if I get sick and I have complications, because I do have high blood pressure and I recently had respiratory problems at the end of 2019, that getting sick and getting something that attacks my lungs and getting something that could attack my circular system and getting to a point where I could get ill was dangerous, to the point where I could just not potentially have a kid because I would be dead. And then that moment hit me again, where protesting against the death could kill me. Not protesting against the death is what's killing us. And that sucks. That is a really, really heartbreaking feeling to have. And I know there's other people out there who feel like that, and I understand. It sucks to feel like I have to choose. I don't want to have to choose. It's crazy to think that I have to choose. It's crazy to think that those are the only two options. Literally. I mean, I guess not. I see, and thank you, Michelle. Michelle just pointed out that I'm, reporting on what's happening is as important. I appreciate that. I felt, and that's the thing. That's why I felt that I needed to come on here and do something. That's why. Because I in my head, I was just like, I can't go, and I'm going to be home, but Lord knows I don't just want to sit around. I can't just sit around. That felt like it would feel so. And to anyone who's at home who doesn't have a platform or didn't know how to address this or didn't know how to speak up about it, this is not a blame game. I'm not saying how could you just sit there, and the point is, I again, growing up here, North America, I do have privilege, and I know that. I have privilege. I work a job. I have a career. I have resources available to me to broadcast. Right now, I'm broadcasting on multiple platforms. I'm streaming this on audio, on my podcast's audio. I'm streaming this on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, because I have the resources to do that. And not everyone has those resources. So that's why I titled it, Does Anyone Else Need to Talk? Because if anyone else needed to talk, if you genuinely want to speak right now, just DM me. I wrote it in the comments. You can DM me. No one has so far. Oh, I do have one. Okay. But yeah, if you guys are interested in speaking to me about this, and you are at home and feel like you need to speak on this, please do. I mean, I didn't. I'm not doing this for just for myself solo. Um, the idea was to try and find a way that I could incorporate those who feel like they have something to say but could not speak. Yeah. Oh God, guys, I've yeah, this has just been really difficult because I just don't know. And yeah, my cousin wrote it. It's a catch-22. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And that's the thing. I genuinely felt like I was not doing anything, and then realized I could at least do this. Anyways, I don't want to only tell stories about the I don't want to paint the picture of the police as this like force that is only meant to kill us. Because like I said, I think there are people who go into the profession thinking honestly that they would be able to do it to better. And then I think that the system doesn't allow them to. That's what I think. That's what I was trying to say before. That the policing system in place is made so that it protects. If that wasn't clear, I don't know. It was hard. I'm trying to say so much, and it's easy to feel like I'm getting lost in what I'm saying. But you know, that's the thing, right? When there's just so many thoughts happening and so many thoughts going through your head, and you don't know exactly how you're going to express them, especially when, like I've been saying, I desperately try to do my best to do it in the most diplomatic of ways. Because, and I know, it's funny because I had this conversation with someone that they're just like, there's no time for diplomacy in a situation like this. And I understand that feeling. I also understand, like I was saying before, Toby said this is about us versus them, and the us is non-racist and the them is racist. I saw Renzel, who's a comedian in Montreal, who speaks up on a regular basis. He hosts the podcast Serial Killers, spelled Cereal Killers, and does a daily show Monday on IG. And one of the things that he said now is that, oh, hold on, I'm getting a call. Hello?
Hi.
Hey, you're still there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay, hold on. Let me switch back over to the view. So, how's it going?
It's really great. We started walking now in the streets.
Okay.
And it's still peaceful. People are more engaging, so I think it's pretty good.
Good. I should say, I want to remind people that and the fear that I had came more because I grew up in 1993. I was there when the Habs won the Stanley Cup and we destroyed our city. And then I've seen other protests happen where Montreal has gone a little aggressive, but I've also seen Montreal do some of the most beautiful, peaceful protests. And I should also mention that and give credit to the Montreal for continuing to do stuff like that. Because I grew up seeing some of the more unfortunate things happen, I have to remember that, and that's the whole main point to this, because, this whole thing with police brutality comes from the constant depiction that black people are aggressive. And then if you just live in a frame of mind because you've seen something, then you're always going to assume the worst. And I myself need to address some of that thinking. Just because Montreal has had a history of on occasion doing something doesn't mean it's always going to do that. And those changes and that mentality is on every level, and I need to do that myself. That's why I wanted to mention that, because
Yeah.
hopefully that was clear. But yeah, how are you feeling about the movement as it's happening right now?
I'm really happy. Like, I'm gonna mute myself in and out just so that you guys can hear me clearly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel really great about it. I think that I feel like, because like I also saw a lot of people from my job. So
Okay.
I'm really happy that they care, because my own company didn't even say anything about the matter, and that really pissed me off.
Yeah.
But the fact that I was able to see a few of my coworkers, I'm really happy, and to feel really supported, and to feel like people really care about the matter, I really appreciate it.
That's that's beautiful. That is beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could be there, and I'm hoping that there are some of the. I mean, I don't expect my company to say anything. I know I saw Marvel Comics or Marvel Studios posted something today, um, about Black creators and how they stand with them. I know there's a history of a lot of people of color and Black people specifically working in Marvel and in the New York office, doing their part. So I do appreciate companies speaking up on this, because I think that companies need to speak up on this stuff. I mean, it's important. It's a little weird when they don't. Uh, you know, uh, I was
Yeah.
yeah. Um, I was explaining.
Also, Nike and
Oh
Netflix,
yes,
they posted something about it too.
yeah, yeah. They wrote "Don't do it" instead of "Just do it," which I was like, oh, interesting. Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
yeah, um, yeah. How else are you feeling? What are your thoughts on everything? Like, I being I'm living through through you right now by proxy, because I really do wish I could be there, and I'm how's the social
Well,
distancing?
well, nobody's social distancing right now.
Yeah.
It's just a big pack of us, but like, it's all good to have this march and to have this protest, but the movement goes beyond that. We need to remind ourselves that there's work to be done after today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really gonna take time, because I don't expect all the racist people to just stop being racist overnight. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I was having a conversation with someone earlier today, and they were asking me, like, how do we stop this? And I told them I don't know. I think the one thing we can do is to just continue speaking on it, though. We can't just let it kind of get quiet like we did last time. Um, you know,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. I think for me, I think now it's been an even bigger wake up call that I can't just go back to normal. I didn't think I was going back to normal, but I realized that, like, if the feelings and emotions that I get when this happened hit me that hard, it's because I'm letting go of some of those feelings and emotions, um
Yeah.
as time passes, and that seems, and I'm not doing it to be selfish. I mean, it comes with just, you know, you just start to go about your life, but this is part of my life, and I need to address that more regularly.
Exactly, because part of the white privilege is to be able to just go to bed and forget about everything the next day. Meanwhile, we have to live with this every day.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, that's it's such a sad thing that, like, I live with it every day, knowingly live with it every day, and I just still kind of let it, roll off my back when, and I don't know why. I mean, I know why. I mean, it's easier, right? That's the
Yes,
that's the problem.
and we've been brought up like this,
Oh yeah.
to just you know, just get past this because this is how it works,
Yeah.
how the world works.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole idea of like, well, it's not going to change. That's
Yeah,
that's a really sad messed up thing that we've lived with for a long time.
yeah, and we've been taught to stop like feeling bad for ourselves and just keep it moving. Meanwhile, we're still hurting by, the things that are happening. And, you know, we're humans too. We have feelings about it. We get frustrated,
Yeah.
but we just can't voice it.
Yeah. Yeah, essentially, well, that's what we were saying before, that essentially the sense is, maybe you weren't on the phone when I said it, but the sense is like when we face injustice and when we speak up about it, we're painted as people who are just complaining about the system.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it's not, I think that's one of the reasons that I try and speak about things in such a like specific diplomatic way so that people can't say it's a complaint. I'm actually trying to state facts about something. Because I don't want them to just try and take away the value of what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But all of that's it's all still aggravating because I feel like even then I feel like, oh, I have to kowtow to their system for them to listen.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I won't keep you too much longer because you're out there actually marching, which I again appreciate.
No problem.
And please, please, please be as safe as possible. Make sure. I can imagine you already have your mask and stuff like that, and you're
yeah, I do, but a lot of people are not even wearing masks, so
yeah. See,
I don't know.
yeah. Thank you actually for telling me that stuff because that makes me feel a little less bad about not being able to go. Like obviously,
yeah,
I want,
definitely.
and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean I know people who are listening. Please don't take that bad. I do want to be there, but like I said, for health reasons, I can't be there. There are a lot of people for health reasons who can't be there, and when we hear that a lot of people are not wearing masks, that's part of the problem as to why we all couldn't go. Okay, well, Jazz, I wish you the best on this march, and I thank you for representing us. And if you, do you want me to tell people your socials so that people can follow you or support or anything?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
But yeah, of course, go ahead.
So if anyone is listening right now, you can follow Jazz on Instagram at Educated Natural. That's EDUCATEDNATURAL. Educated Natural. So yeah, you guys can follow her on IG. And I imagine like you said and like I said, we're both. I mean, you've already been posting. I'm gonna be more proactive about posting things that reflect the world that I know I live in, and not only about Lego Batmobiles. As much as I like living in that ignorant bliss, that's not a realistic way to live about things. There still will be Lego comments, but Legos will be interspliced with the real facts of the world. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay. Jazz, thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian.
Of course. Take care.
You too.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everybody.
I want to be there. I genuinely want to be there. I do. And I very much thank Jazz for taking the time to call and speak with us. And I got another message just looking around on platforms, but it seems people from the US, just from me seeing things online, especially the youth on online platforms, are not really interested in this. And I keep hearing about this outside in the use. Again, it just keep views online, thinking it would blow up with multiple online presence. Yeah, So the person that is commenting on my Twitch is saying that as they've like been looking around online, they came upon my post specifically because they were hoping that people would be talking about what's going on in social media and stuff like that. I mean, one of the other things that's really unfortunate about this stuff is that social media, um, and hopefully this person is searching for the content to try and feel more connected. But one of the crazy things about social media is you are in a bubble, right? You are the system feeds the algorithms feeds you back what you put in. So if you are someone who talks about activism and stuff like that, and you know left wing politics, liberal politics, and stuff like that, the system actively only feeds back what you are speaking on and what you are used to. And I don't know why. I don't think that's a good thing. I mean, I know why they do it. They want people to stay on their platforms, and if people are happy with the information and content they're seeing, they'll stay on the platform longer because you start to feel that this platform really represents me. It really gets the things that I'm going through. It really understands my plight and feels, and I feel connected to it. But in actuality, it's just that it's feeding you back what you're putting into it. There are other people on these social media platforms who are saying the complete opposite from you, and you're just not seeing their things. And then there are some people in the middle who will get snippets from that side and will post something, and then you'll see that once, and then all of you will comment in anger, and then the system will just, only feed it back. You're stuck in the echo chamber. It's just feeding back the same thing. And I think that I don't know that I don't think that's helpful. I really don't. I think that limits conversation. I'm happy to be on a platform right now. Like I said, I'm here on social media. I'm here on different platforms. And the reason I did that is because I'm hoping that people will discover this conversation. Like I look at who's viewing, and I have people viewing on each platform that I'm airing this on right now. Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter. There are people watching on all the different platforms, and I'm hoping that by doing that it pierces through and gets to other people out there. Because I don't want it to only be feeding into the echo chamber the same people that I speak. I'm okay with the people in the comments being people that I speak to and people that are comfortable with me, but I would actually be very interested in speaking to someone who doesn't agree with me, because and as much as I would be upset probably with a lot of the things that they say, I'm very, you know what? I won't say I'm very good. I'm decent at keeping a cool head when it comes to a conversation that may not be in line with what I like. Because I find that in those conversations, I might learn more. It might be hard. They say that when someone challenges you on some of the things that you think, the effect mentally is almost like a physical gut punch. And I've been punched in the gut. It hurts, but you will be okay. And I've had people challenge. I've had that sensation when I'm talking to someone about something and they don't agree, where you start to feel hot. But that is, for me, when that happens, one of the things I try and do, and again, guys, the glass of water. I always go back to it because it is truly how I process things. I sit there when I'm talking to someone and I'm disagreeing with them, and I picture, because I'm loud, I speak with my hands, and I'm very, people say I'm boisterous, and I project. And so when I'm talking to someone, I picture the glass and it's filled to the brim, and we are discussing, and I'm doing my best to discuss this in a manner that I don't overflow the glass. I don't spill any of the content in the glass. The glass is our moment. And once the glass is empty, the moment's gone, and it's useless because nothing's retained when people get so angry, because like I was saying, it's like a mental gut punch. Have you ever been punched in the gut and then tried to process what's happening immediately after? You're dazed and confused. It's not your brain. It takes time for your brain to retain and process when you're in somewhat of a shock situation. So think about that. That's when you're having these conversations with people and someone across from you disagrees with you. It's like a gut punch, and they are emotionally not going to connect with anything you're saying now. So if you genuinely, truly want to have this conversation with these people, you have to try and find a way to have it without overflowing the glass. And if this person across from you is just outright racist, sexist, or not interested, well, then also don't waste your time. That glass is full, but if the glass is just there and it's not, nothing's happening, pour the fucking glass yourself just to knock it over then. Because if you know, and I say this only like if you genuinely know, like if I'm talking to someone and you can tell, one of the things I'll tell you right now, when you're having a discussion with someone, once it becomes cyclical in conversation, stop. Just stop. It's if I'm having a conversation with someone and I present fact A, and the person comes back with opinion A, and I'm like, okay, I hear what you're saying, and you know, and then there's those arguments about like, well, your fact is based on an opinion. That's one of the things I will, guys. I will. If you've ever debated with me, if you've ever had a discussion with me, an argument with me, I am not the type to try and argue an opinion as fact. I tell you that now. And I promise you that if I am ever having a conversation with you and you show me the thing that I am bringing to you as fact is actually based in an opinion and I may be wrong, I will stop and I will admit that I am wrong. I'm one of those people because I don't want to waste my time, your time, or the brain power of saving information that does not validate the conversation we are having. I want our conversation to be a fluid conversation and exchange where you feel you've gained something and I feel I've gained something. And I don't want to waste either of our time by doing that with fake information or false information. So, you know, have the conversations with people. If you truly don't agree with something, you can have conversations with people. The gut punches will come. You can try and process them. And you know what? It's like it's crazy, but it's like training. You have to train yourself for that too. It's not easy. It's hard. But you train yourself. I've done it my whole life. I've disagreed with some of the greatest. Trust me. I've disagreed with people who knew more than me, who had not better facts, who had the actual facts. This is where I learned facts wins arguments. And in this day and age where people argue and like to say, you know, alternative facts and stuff, no, I mean, that's when I think you can probably, remove yourself from the conversation. If you have done your research, and I say this to you if you're looking at me, because you know when you've truly done your research. I'm not saying when you looked on a website and found something that echoed back what you were thinking. You've actually looked into the thing that you are discussing to a point that it is a reliable source that you've also looked into. You've done the multiple steps to be able to defend this point. You'll know. You'll also know when you take shortcuts. You know. And that's why it's important not to. Because when you start taking shortcuts, the person you're talking to doesn't want to listen to it. I mean, they already don't want to listen to you because they may not agree with you. But if you start taking shortcuts and they realize you've taken shortcuts, I once had a discussion with someone. This young woman and I were talking about sugar daddies and sugar babies. It's it has nothing to do with race. I'm just giving the example. So this person and I were discussing, and the person presented their information. I presented my information. We were going back and forth. And then the person started to tell me that I don't understand. And I was like, okay. And then, but they didn't present a fact to say I don't understand. They just said I don't understand. And I was like, so then I continued with presenting other facts that I knew from people who I knew had been in that community. Women and men, actually a young man who had been a sugar baby, who were getting gifts and money from someone older that they spent time with. And the person didn't like that I had my information. And I kept prefacing everything I said with, these are from people that I know. If you would like, I can ask them if they're comfortable with having this discussion with you to pass this information along. I don't want you to assume that I'm just making this stuff up. But the person started to attack me personally. And that's the thing. That person felt a gut punch with what I was presenting. And I felt gut punches with what they were presenting. But I managed to pull back because I didn't let it get personal. And then they started to attack me personally. At which point, the funny part is, I didn't continue arguing. I said, thank you, and I stopped. I stopped talking to them. And then the person started saying I was being immature. And I said, it's not a matter of immature. You've started to attack me personally. This conversation was about something specific. So why should I continue the conversation if we're not going to be on the same level and discuss it as adults with presenting the things that we have at our disposal? And that's what makes some of this stuff difficult. I'm seeing other people join in. Once again, guys, if you are interested in discussing with me right now live, you can send me a DM on Instagram. My Instagram is @BrianHoliday. And I will send you the number to contact me because there's a specific number that you can reach me at, and I can give you that. I can't say it over the air because I don't want it to just be a public number. But if you are interested in discussing, if you need to talk, that's the whole point. I came on here because I wanted to talk, and I was hoping that other people would want to speak. I did see one person message me. I messaged them back the number. Please, if you're watching this right now, check your DM so that you can see the number. But yeah, this is heavy. I mean, you guys saw me cry twice if you were watching this from the beginning. You can obviously tell how emotional this whole situation is for me. It's not easy. I remember having a conversation with my mom once. And I think, if anything, I think this should have been... Oh, sorry, someone just sent a link. This should have been when I realized that I was going to have trouble feeling comfortable where I was. Because I was... At the time, it was a reflection of being in Quebec. To the person on Twitch, no, I do not have Discord. These are all things I'm going to consider looking into. I want to thank that person for their input. I appreciate them jumping in and commenting. If you guys are on Twitch, or if you're watching and you want to jump on Twitch, feel free to. If you're using Twitch, it's twitch.tv/BrianHoliday. Those comments I see immediately as they come up as I'm live, whereas the comments that come on Facebook unfortunately come slightly delayed due to the nature of the streaming platform that I'm using. But yeah. Oh, sorry. I see. It looks like someone is trying to reach me.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello?
I'm listening to you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's because you were muted. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is Michelle. How are you doing?
I think maybe not, certainly not as bad as you, I could say, but am I allowed to swear on this platform?
Oh yeah, by all means. I mean, I haven't sworn yet, but that was mostly just because I just didn't want to.
Okay, I'm pretty fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
That's honestly the only way I can say. I mean, as somebody who grew up in Queens.
Hmm.
I grew up between two places. I grew up in a small place called New Hyde Park, which is now split, I think, into North and South New Hyde Park. One of them is still the terrible place that I grew up in, where there were gang wars going on and people doing drag races around on the Hillside Avenue and all that. But my grandparents, where I spent half my time, were in Pomona in the project housing,
Hmm.
and right across the street. So this is a Pomona. For anybody who doesn't know, Pomona has, I don't know how it is now. I haven't been back there in 18 years, but growing up there, Pomona was a trash hole.
Hmm.
It was horrible. It
Yeah.
was extremely cheap project housing. It was many different types of people, lots of old Jewish people, like my grandparents, lots of Spanish people, like my great grandmother was there too.
Hmm.
And they all just grew up there, and of course, there were a lot of Puerto Ricans and a lot of Black people. And instead of actually helping the community, when I was about 14, they spent $100,000, which was supposed to go back to the community,
Hmm.
for Mr. Crowley. So everybody knows who AOC is, right? So the person that she replaced
Oh, yeah.
was,
Okay.
yeah, the person that she replaced was buddies with the chief commissioner. And of course, if they guaranteed votes, they would put some money to the police station. So right on the corner of Jewel Avenue, so I think it's 6th and Jewel Avenue. I don't know if it's still there.
Hmm.
They instead of installing a community center or something that would help the community, they put a police station.
Oh.
What do they put on that police station? A giant piece of artwork that cost $100,000.
Oh
Now,
my God.
I am somebody obviously who does promote the arts. That's what I do.
Yeah.
But if you're going to in one of the poorest communities in the county,
$100,000 piece of art.
$100,000, and that's not even to say how much they spent on redoing the precinct. Okay,
Yeah.
that's just for the piece of artwork that was up there. I never saw my grandmother so angry in her whole life. They grew up there. She spent 40 years of her life there, raising 2 kids there. She wasn't the most shining of characters. She wasn't a great person, but I think she did her best considering the circumstances that she lived in. And they were in a place that it was cheap rent. It was, like I said, it was project housing. It was $300 a month.
Hmm.
And here they are. They barely had any food in their fridge, and they had a Puerto Rican family living on top of them. They had a Russian family who had escaped at the time, who had escaped the USSR.
Yeah.
And they were living down the hall on nothing. And so they secured a piece of artwork on top of a precinct for $100,000 that did absolutely nothing when people in their community were poor. So I think you can understand. I think you can understand where I sit on this fence.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, like this is one of those things again that comes down to it's not black versus white, it's racist versus non-racist. It's rich. In some cases, it very much feels like rich versus poor too.
Well, so consider what did Martin Luther King get shot over? Organizing the Poor People's March, right?
I mean, yeah, I feel like and historically we've seen like companies fight against unions to make sure that people don't unionize and fight for rights within the companies.
Yep. That's right.
Like there's Amazon right now is one of the most profitable companies based on the situation. And
yes, because they unfortunately were in a place to take advantage of such a situation.
Yeah. A lot of when the employees try to unionize, what do? They shut down plants, move people, fire people, regulation, stuff like that. It's crazy to think that Bezos has enough money that he could just strip, like if they made $1 million bills, he would still have stacks of it and could just peel off $1 million bills to just help people, just to help. I'm not saying just to like. And then some people say, and the argument often is, the teach a man to fish versus give a man a fish. So what will $1 million do? Well, guys, that's easy for you to say when you have $1 million, but if you
Yeah, when you're born with $1 million and they go, here you go, you can do what you like. Like Elon Musk? Weren't his parents? Didn't they own a mine?
yeah, even Donald Trump.
Come on.
Donald Trump's dad always talks about being a self-starter. He got $1 million to start his first company.
Oh, he had more than that, I think. Didn't his father leave him eventually? Didn't he leave him the entire fortune?
Probably, but I think for
and
him
then
to establish,
and then he squandered it and went bankrupt 7 times, I believe.
But I mean, to establish the first one, from what I understand, it was $1 million. And then, you tell other people like, oh, but we can't just give. No, I'm not saying just hand $1 million to the poor. I'm saying,
well, no, because you can't give $1 million to thugs.
No, but not even just that. Not even that mentality. I'm speaking more on the factual basis of like, you can't just hand $1 million to one person and say this is going to fix everything. You need to actually establish a system where people can have access to that $1 million with information, education, and infrastructure that will help. Because if they just have $1 million, if you have $1 million but no infrastructure around you, that doesn't do anything. And that's the problem.
Not only that, but why would they want to consider this? There are a lot of people who keep saying, "Oh, we can't educate the poor. We can't," or they'll say things like, "Oh no, we can't make college free." Community college, when I was a kid, back in my day, when I was a kid, community college was virtually free.
Yeah.
The whole point of it was to give poor people in the community, hence community college, the community, a start. So this way, you could get your degree. You could go on to take your master's and be a doctor, whatever you wanted to do.
Yeah.
That was the point of community college. It's only in the last 15 years that community college is no longer for the community.
Yeah.
It's very different now. And of course, because they don't want that. They don't want poor people or people of color. They don't want them to be educated.
Yeah, I'm
because then that means you have to put them on the same footing.
Yeah,
they don't want that.
I'm wondering if it was a matter of like them seeing, oh well, we need more trade workers. So
of course,
we have to start creating that divide again, because that's one of the, and that to me is, and
trade school is not cheap.
No, I know. That's the other crazy part. Like, it might be cheaper, but it's not cheap.
No.
And then in some cases, some of the trade schools that I see are almost more expensive, which I find very interesting.
Yes, you know why that? You know why? Because the trade tracks. So something, let's say, like being an orderly, right? Is you look at it, you go, why is this so expensive? It's because it's part of the immigration track. That's why. It's one of the professions, like orderly, caregiver. It's one of the professions that immigrants can do to be considered for work permit immediate patriation. That's why.
Which is something else that they're trying to. They're looking at limiting now.
They're looking at expanding it, but for people who are only seeking asylum. So if you're a black person who's running away from the States right now, especially all the Haitians, because remember they lost their protections.
Yeah.
I think it was last year, I believe.
Okay.
They lost their protections from what happened in Haiti, and they were considered refugees in the States for, I believe, a couple of years, and now they're like, well, we don't want to go back to Haiti, so a lot of them are coming here.
Okay.
And part of the deal is for asylum seekers is, oh yeah, you can still come to the country, but you have to be in this position, in this place. So very interesting, isn't it, that they want Haitians and Haitian immigrants to be orderlies in coronavirus hospitals. Very interesting. Oh, did you not know about that?
Well, I mean, I'm not shocked about it, but I guess it's not that I don't know about this stuff. It's just that I guess I don't. I keep trying to not live in it, and that I think is one of the problems that I'm having with myself. I'm realizing that I have to stop trying to.
You know what, Brian? You are a ball of sunshine. That's why.
Yeah.
And everybody always feels happier by being around you. And I think that's why, because you're so used to being smiley and convivial, and beneficent to everybody. I think that's why it's so hard for you to finally be like, no, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I still believe that there's a place for me to be happy, but at the same time, just I still be happy, but also just be aware. and try and find that balance. Because sometimes, like, my best friend and I will often have these conversations about things, and then we'll laugh. And him and I always admit we're laughing out of discomfort. We're not laughing because we actually think this stuff is funny. We laugh because we know this stuff isn't funny. And if we don't laugh at it, we are going to go insane because it's so bad. It is so genuinely bad when you look at the situation that if you do not laugh at it, it's like, well, God damn, I can't like if I'm just gonna keep looking at it, it's almost like when people laugh because they're scared or laugh because they're nervous. People who laugh at funerals, people who laugh at weddings, like laughter is that like crazy thing you do when your brain's just like, I'm gonna try faking it for you because you don't know how to handle the emotions you're going through, and
it's a defense mechanism, yeah, of course.
And I think it's the first time I've ever thought to myself, oh, maybe I need therapy to talk this stuff out. It's true.
Welcome aboard, Brian.
Because, already being black and being in the black community and most minority communities, quote unquote, therapy is not always seen as one of the most positive things. In some communities,
of course.
In some communities, it's seen as negative because they use therapists to create whole ideas about the people and the culture and the community, and then discredit half of the things that they were thinking or saying.
Of course. Yeah.
And then
when I was growing up, especially in the Orthodox Jewish community, you never talk to somebody else about your problems.
Yeah.
That is something that's private for the family, and if you have an issue, you go to the rabbi, and the rabbi will tell you just to go back to your husband. That's all that's wrong with you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have enough.
I completely understand.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have enough God in you.
No, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you know what? I don't say that. And I want to be clear. I'm not saying that to make fun of people who believe in God and find comfort in that. I envy you because I can't find comfort in just believing in something. It has not helped me in that way, and I need something else. And if that has helped you, genuinely helped you, I mean, not just like you're okay. I mean, if believing in God has genuinely helped you, or having a belief system has genuinely helped you, better for you, and I congratulate you. I'm not that person. I realize that I need more. I think I do.
I think most people in this situation now realize that they need more because it's not helping. It's not helping.
Yeah.
Nothing is helping. I mean, when I was in grade 11, that's when I had way long before. I was very fortunate to have teachers who told me about how things were.
Yeah.
Because my parents, even though my parents were poor, they grew up in that very 1950s, very racist America. Not that it's much better right now, but they grew up in saying terrible things openly to people, and that was okay for them because that's what they grew up with. And I knew it was wrong growing up, and therefore I never did it. I just always felt embarrassed whenever they did it, and against everybody, not just black people, everybody. But when I was in grade 11, and my history teacher, Mr. Milstein, who was a wonderful person, he taught us. We were talking about taxes and feudalism, and we were talking about the working poor.
Yeah.
And he made the connection for us. And he said, well, what do you think the working poor are? Why do you think disenfranchised communities, like Black and Hispanic communities, especially in New York, why do you think they keep them there? And what do you think your taxes actually do for you? And I had this moment of going, wow, we're just living in modern day feudalism. And he gave me slow claps. And I sat down and I said, I have to get out of here. I mean, look, as I always say to people before, Canada's not too much better.
Yeah.
Yes, we are better in certain senses, but the police just threw that woman off her balcony in Toronto.
I think again, my thing with Canada is I think it has more to do with size. I think if we were just as big as America, it would be as bad. I think it's in relation to the size of the country and the population.
Yes, I do agree with you there, and I also think it has to do more with the socialist aspect that Canadians grew up with.
Yeah,
they're taught more to care more about people.
Yeah,
but I think more, especially the older generations. As I said, I got bought by 3 people, and they were all of a specific demographic and a specific age, right? Nobody under the age of 35, nobody. But as we said before, obviously social media is an echo chamber. So I had 3 weeds to pull out, but that's fine. Let them go. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
But when it comes to racism in Canada, I think because the perception is that Canada is technically a more left-leaning country because we are a more democratic socialist country.
Yeah.
The issue is, though, that in certain places, obviously, it's more accepted than others. I have a friend. I have another black friend who lives out in Alberta, and just the story that you were telling before, he could not get an apartment. He had to send his wife to go around and get an apartment because his wife's white, so she went around and got an apartment, no problem. Whenever he went around to go ask, it's, oh, sorry, we're full.
Yeah.
We're full here. You
know?
And
stuff like that makes me think of like also what happened in China recently, where the fear of the virus spreading by foreigners led to like small communities of black people being kicked out of their homes in China, and it's like honest.
That is fucked up. That is so fucked up. I have nothing more eloquent to say about that. That is just fucked. I actually thought you were going to talk about the Rohingyas and the genocide.
No.
I didn't realize that happened. Wow, that is.
Yeah, it happened recently. There was when the numbers started to drop for the infected. There was like this weird movement where the numbers spiked again after they opened things back up much too soon. And then there was a lot of black people who were posting about the fact that they were just like, oh, I was just dragged out of a store. Like there's videos of people being dragged out of stores and stuff like that. And when I look at stuff like that, I'm just like I think of if the people here who are racist could just do that, how crazy, like the only reason they don't do that right now is because there's a fear of repercussion. The reason they do it there is because they don't think anything will happen, and nothing has happened. You think people boycotted those businesses because some guy dragged a black guy out of the store? They probably don't even know. They probably didn't see it on social media. It probably didn't affect their bottom line. And I say again, this is an opinion, not a fact. I speak this completely on an ignorant level, not knowing what's going on in China's social media, or if they are possibly so progressive that those businesses have been shut down. I say this purely out of the sadness of seeing the situation through social media and not having more information. I say I always add
terrible.
that because I realize
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I just had someone else message me saying they want to call. So
go ahead. You can hang up on me. That's fine.
Well, actually, you'd have to disconnect it, but I'll just wait because they said that they're going to call in a minute. But
okay.
But thank you so much, Michelle, for talking with me today. I definitely appreciate it. Like I said, I'm happy.
Like I said, I can't go to the march. I am in your boat.
Yeah.
I am, especially me and my husband are both in the vulnerable boat, so we can't go out. I was going to say, especially because I think what was her name, Jasmine?
Yeah, Jasmine.
She said that she didn't see many black people at the protest, and I was going to say maybe it's a good thing that the black communities don't go because coronavirus is most lethal in black communities because of things like sickle cell anemia, diabetes, etc. I know it sounds bad to say, and I'm sure it doesn't have good visuals, but right now, I think everybody can be forgiven for not going.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? There was someone that there was someone that I know who posted today explaining specifically why they weren't going, and they weren't going because they said the same community that we are trying to fight for is the same community that if we go out en masse is going to be affected on a larger scale, and the same community that will most likely be ignored and won't get the help they need.
Most deaths from coronavirus in the States, 70% of them are black people in poor communities.
Yeah.
So do not, if you don't have to go, don't go, and don't feel bad about it, because I think the circumstances are a little bit not in everybody's favor right now.
Yeah.
I understand the guilt of feeling of not going, but I think it's best if you are afraid, then don't go.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
It's enough. Like I said, it's enough to spread the information. It's enough to get the racists out of your timeline. It's enough. So just make sure.
Like I was
that,
saying, I don't even want
the
racists out of my timeline. I want them to have the conversation. I've always wanted to have a conversation with a genuinely racist person. And either myself or a proxy, because if they are so racist that they don't want to speak with me, a proxy asks them, in a perfect world where you do get everyone to quote unquote go back to their country, where
are we all going back?
No, but let's say in their head, go back to your country. So every black person goes back to Africa. Every Latino goes back south of the border.
That's a continent.
Sure. I'm speaking purely on they just get what they want in their perfect mind. This is what happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's their plan for the country when it's just them? Like what's the next step? You are a nation now of purely white people. We're going to use the one drop rule. So everyone's left. They're gone. You now have the country to yourself. The population is decimated because it's a large percentage of the country. So let's say North America. I'm not even just saying the United States. North America, you get the perfect dream. Oh, by the way, the natives all disappear in their dream.
I was going to say war with the natives is step 2.
I realize that. But again, like I said, their perfect dream. The natives have disappeared. All the black people have gone to the Africa. All the Latinos have gone to south. All the other people, everyone's gone. They now have from all the way north, the Inuits, they're all gone. From north all the way down to the border, right? Like and North America now has somehow, for some reason, cut off Mexico because they're racist and they don't want Mexicans either. So the racist person has gotten their dream. We've all gone back where we came from, quote unquote. What next?
War with mayonnaise.
Yeah, but that's it. Like because I honestly I say it seriously because I don't understand it. I don't see the plan. Because that's the thing. I'm crazy enough that I just want to see the plan. That's the part I don't understand.
Well, I don't think there is anything for you to understand because it's a fault in education. Because if they imagine this perfect la-la land where all the white people are dancing around in circles and everything is chicken and stars, I don't understand that there is not. They don't understand. They think that if that happens, that it's a utopia and they'll never have to work again. No, they'll now have to do all the jobs that the poor people and the immigrants are doing. They haven't thought things. That's what I mean when I say it's a fault in education. Yeah. They're told by people that everything is going to be great when all the other people go wherever they go. The other fault in education is they think that people in other countries are all the same. They think all Latino people come from like Colombia, or they think that they think like technically I'm Hispanic, I'm not Latino, but I'm Hispanic. My mother's side is all Hispanic, but to them that doesn't mean anything because I'm white, so I can't be.
Oops.
So. They think that Africa is a country, and they think that like North Africa doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Oh,
I understand that they don't, that their plan is faulty. I just would like them to think about what their plan would look like. Like that's because I feel like it's very easy to say let's do this, and then once faced with the act, you know what it is. I'll say it like this. It's like when a dog chases after a fire truck and then the fire truck stops. And then the dog gets to the fire truck and it's just like, I have no plan here. I was just chasing this fire truck. And that's not to say that these people are idiots chasing a fire truck. I'm saying it in the sense of like the dog, as wise as it is in the context of its life, has done what it wanted to do and finally got to where it wanted to be. But what's next? What is the plan? What do you do moving forward?
I think it has to do with also the sense of belongingness. For example, there's a Black community, there's a Hispanic community. There's no white community. There are obviously there are Ukrainian communities, Polish communities, Irish communities, etc. But they themselves, the people who are the demographic that you were specifically talking about, the uneducated, probably middle class, middle Western white person in North America.
Oh no,
they might not have that feling of belongingness.
But here's the crazy part. They're not the only racist, though. Give me the educated Central Park West wealthy person who also doesn't want immigrants, quote unquote, again, in their country. What's their plan? Because the people you're describing...
You can call Ben Shapiro and ask him.
But I say this only because the people you're describing don't benefit from the work of immigrants, right?
Yeah,
they don't see the benefit of. So in a weird way, there is a small part of me that understands, generations of anger towards other people who came in and were willing to do jobs for less, and they feel they were pushed out because they were raised by parents for generations who told them, this is our country, those people are taking our jobs. But if you're one of the rich who also don't want the immigrants and stuff like that, but you have, tons of immigrants working for you, what is your plan? Like, that's what I'm saying. When I ask that question, I want one of the most educated people to tell me what the plan is.
I guess the educated person would say robots, but then who's going to build them?
That's it, right? Like, that's like it becomes this thing of I just want the thought process that they're going to be going through, because I don't see it, and I just am tired of it. Okay.
The fault of education, Brian. You have too much emotion.
Well.
You have too much sense and reason.
Yeah,
you want me to go so I can let the other person on?
Well, I think they were still trying to call through.
Okay, bye.
But thank you. I'll take care.
All right. Bye, Brian.
Bye.
I love you.
Love you too.
Put your hand in the air. Bye.
Later. Thank you very much for calling, Michelle. But yeah, I had some spam messages. That always feels nice. It's a weird thing when I remember once when I worked in radio, someone told me, you're not doing anything until someone comes along and hates what you're doing. And then I saw like a whole bunch of like someone was spamming me. Like someone was spamming and putting like Pornhub links and stuff like that, and I blocked them all. But it was just weird. It's very interesting that this is what my platform is the platform they felt needed to be spammed. So, it's interesting. When I started doing this at 5:30, I just did it because I wanted to talk. I kept feeling like I didn't have an outlet to express how I was feeling about not being able to go to the march. And then I'm really happy that so many of you felt like jumping on and talking to me about your experiences of not being able to go, or your experiences with how you're feeling. Some of you have been DMing me separate from the group, from the public messages, and I understand you may not necessarily feel comfortable sharing everything, and that's fine. But I thank you. I appreciate that you felt comfortable enough to message me, and I appreciate that you, when you needed someone to talk to, I was one of the people you reached out to. Yeah, I'm not, the whole premise of what I do comes down to I don't consider myself a journalist. I consider myself someone who just grew up with a mother that told him very early on that he was going to be judged and seen as, he was going to be judged in the community. I shared the story recently, but the first time I was called a slur was when I was 6. And I think that was very hard for my mother to have to explain that to me. And that gave me a perspective growing up that, once I started to understand slurs and understand angry people and people who can lie and people who can make up things and people who can disrespect you. I also grew up with a sister who has special needs. And I saw people mistreat and disrespect my sister just because she had special needs, and I didn't really understand why. Because to me, it never made sense to do that. Seemed like a weird thing to just decide you wanted to be mean to someone because they're different from you, and not it. And sometimes I always wondered. I was just like, what is it about my sister, or what is it about me that you're scared of or angry about to the point where you need to try and make us feel like less? Because I was a child the first time. I was 6. What did that man... Like I was saying to Michelle, the person that was supposed to call me did not reply. I was 6. Is it that they saw me as a threat because I was a child and they're like, oh, another one? Did it make them feel better though? Like, I mean, I don't know that person. And also it's crazy because now it's 30 years later and I still think about that, and they probably don't. Actually, they're probably dead. And I don't say that to be kind of cold, as in like, haha, they're dead. I mean, in the sense that like the person was, from what I remember, much older. Like they looked like a grandparent to me. So if it's 30 years ago, and I'm assuming, if I'm being kind, I think that person looked like they were in their 50s or 60s. They could still be alive. They could be 90 something. But, I just wonder. How did it feel? Did you, did they think at that time, 30 years from now, I'm still going to be talking about them? I mean, I don't know their name. I don't remember the face all that much. I just remember someone. And you know what? What's funny? I don't remember an angry expression when they said the word. I think that's one of the most interesting parts of it for me. Like when I picture, and obviously 30 years later, my memory is probably very specific. I know it was said to me. I know my mom explained it to me. My mom and I have discussed this. That is a real memory. But, it's obvious the way the human mind works, the details of our memory from 30 years ago it's so hard to trust them, right? It's like, the way the human mind works is the memories you have are the memory of you remembering the memory, right? So like if I asked you right now, picture your first day of high school. All of us, everyone who's listening right now, picture your first day of high school. I would imagine, not that I know for a fact that everyone had a great first day of high school, but I imagine that a lot of people remember their first day, whether it be positive or negative. So remember your first day of high school. Now really think about it. Is everything you're remembering about your first day, is it like smells and sensations, or is it possible that it's like a layer of different memories and ideas that you've piled on top? The only one memory I have from my first day of high school that is a vivid memory, and the reason I remember it is because it's linked to an emotion, is I was afraid, is I saw someone attack someone else. And I've spoken to other people and they remember that instance. So we collectively remember that happening. So when I look back, I'm just like, I don't remember what that person looks like. I don't remember what the guy looked like that the person jumped down. I just remember seeing someone of a certain height, running full speed, launching themselves, grabbing someone else and throwing that person to the ground. And so yeah. I don't know. It's it's weird. All of it. All of it's weird. And memory is this weird thing. And when I think back to that person, it's like, I don't know. I don't remember what they look like. And I'm always fascinated by that I don't remember. I kind of just remember the conversation with my mom. I remember her being sad, but I don't remember everything. Anyways, guys, I have been talking to you wonderful people for 2 hours now, and I very much appreciate everyone who's tuned in. And I think you guys are great. I think everyone who is dealing with what's going on in the world is probably feeling a lot right now. And I would tell them, if they are feeling really like tense about the emotions, and they're feeling kind of stuck, to, I would say reach out. I would say start, there are resources for everyone out there. Man, I say that again from a position of privilege. I don't know that everyone could take advantage of all those resources, but there are free resources, and I would hope that those resources are available to everyone. I want to believe they are. Apologies, folks. I had to sneeze. I'd like to think they are. I'd like to think that everyone in some way can find the resources they need to help them deal and to help them cope with the situation, because it's not an easy one. And I also hope that everyone has a friend that they can reach out to and talk with. I think that's important too. And if you are in a position where you don't feel like you have friends that you could speak to, you don't feel like you have friends that can help you or help guide you, that's when you can start looking at those resources and try and find someone that can listen and can help guide you. And also, if your friends are just feeding into anger, I understand some people are very angry, but I mean, also, if you're one of those friends and someone turns to you, don't only feed their anger. That is, I mean, you can listen to them. If anything, do your best to listen and maybe try and help guide, but don't ever. I don't think it's healthy to just, like, people can be angry and you can acknowledge that person's anger and you can listen to the anger. I don't think it's great to start feeding into that monster. You know what I mean? Like, don't just feed them more that makes them angry. And I don't know if it's because people are probably really angry already. Like, I'm really angry right now, and I don't think I need more to feed my anger. Because, yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry that I don't have Discord. But I do appreciate you reaching out on here. I really do. Maybe I could do something like that in the future. This is the first time I've had as many people paying attention or watching the content. I mean, I love doing podcasting and broadcast, and it's Oh, sorry, I got another message from someone. I know the answer to your question, and it's ridiculous. Feudalism. People with the mentality will always find people to oppress, even from their own race. Oh, yeah, that is fair. That's a reference to something I said quite a bit ago. But yeah, thank you for that message. And thank you for tuning in. There's a few people who tuned in on Twitter too, which is really nice. Guys, thank you. These 2 hours of processing and speaking about everything and anything has at least helped me. I feel like I've gotten a lot off my chest, and I appreciate everyone that jumped in and all the comments and the feedback and the people, Jazz and Michelle, who were able to call in and speak with me. And you guys were great. And that's pretty much it, guys. That's it. My name is Brian Holiday. If you guys want to continue checking out my content, you can, by all means, visit brianholiday.com and follow me on Instagram, and I will do better. I think that's one of the things I want to do. I'm a geek at heart. You guys can see behind me. There's, Transformers action figures, a Luke Cage framed picture that a buddy of mine, shout outs to Mob's Goodness, gave me some years ago. Not even some years ago, recently. And I appreciate having the space to do something like this, to talk to people and to be present and to discuss this. And for anyone who was sitting at home and felt alone, if I helped them feel less alone while discussing, I hope that helped. That's pretty much it. I'm gonna sign off, and I'm gonna thank you guys again. That's it, guys. Thank you very much, and stay tuned to more content. You can always look up, just Google Brian Holiday, BrianHollidae, and you'll find my stuff. That's it, guys. Thank you very much. Have a good night.